A couple months ago, I got to thinking about traveling traders. Have you noticed that you can trade with them for nether items sometimes? Things such as nether quartz being the most common item you can trade for. Have you ever wondered exactly how the wandering trader obtains the nether items? He's supposedly an NPC, incapable of traveling to different dimensions on their own, incapable of mining blocks, and incapable of killing mobs. Unless, of course, he is not an NPC at all, but rather an entity. Almost everyone knows of different entities with different names, such as Herobrine, Entity 303, Null, and so many others, and nearly none of them are good. However, adding the Wandering Trader to the list of evil entities could be a possibility. See, the trader can't possibly be an NPC because he has the power to travel through dimensions. We can also note that he can fight mobs and mine blocks, which NPCs cannot do, so that rules out the possibility of the trader being an NPC. From what I have stated so far, we can gather that the trader is not an NPC. It could be possible that he is an entity like Herobrine or Entity 303. Let's go over what we do know. The traveling trader can mine blocks, fight mobs, and travel through different dimensions, like Herobrine and E303. The only other one that can do that in worlds is the player that inhabits the world. The idea of the trader being a player is completely ruled out of the possibilities of what he could be, seeing as he can and does appear offline and in single-player worlds. On to the last thing. I myself am convinced that the traveling trader is an entity, and here's my evidence. 1. The trader can mine blocks, kill mobs, and travel through regular dimensions, including that he is not an NPC, as regular NPCs can't do any of that. 2. The trader is not a player because he appears offline and on single-player worlds, even without Wi-Fi or any type of connection to the internet, and cannot type in chat or interact with the player in any other way except for trade. 3. The only other type of thing that can do all of this and cannot possibly be a player is an entity. An entity like Herobrine or E303, seeing as all other entities I have heard of can do these things. Based off of this information, we can conclude that the traveling trader is in fact an entity. The only thing left to discuss, however, is this. Is the trader a good or evil entity? I don't know what you believe about him on this topic or not, but I have another theory for that. Seeing as the traveling trader can enter the nether at will, I have mixed thoughts about this. The only dimension that he can go without problem is the nether. Not the end, just the hellish nether. And have you ever wondered how the trader gets to the nether? Somehow he always gets there, even if you do not have a nether portal in your world. And why does he have the llamas? The traveling trader never rides his llamas in your presence. Also, he has 2 llamas, as you know. Why should he need 2 llamas when he only needs 1 to ride? My other theory for whether or not he is evil is this. He never rides his llamas in front of the players present, and somehow he manages to travel to the nether when there is no existing active portal in the world. My idea for the llamas, and why he never rides them in front of players, is that the trader just might use the llamas to travel to the nether. Exhibit A. He is able to travel to the nether without a portal/active portal in Minecraft worlds. Exhibit B. He is never seen riding his 2 llamas in front of a player. Exhibit C. He just disappears randomly without warning. No walking off, he just disappears. With all of this being said, I believe that the traveling trader may ride his llamas to travel between the nether and the overworld while the player isn't watching. However, the trader always has 2 llamas, no matter how many times one dies, goes missing, or gets killed by the player. My idea on why this is that before the trader leaves the nether, he makes a sacrifice of one of his llamas to a higher entity of the nether, then tames another one to replace the one he has just sacrificed. This idea would explain why the traveling trader always has 2 steeds, no matter how many times one of them dies or disappears. All of this would explain how the traitor is able to travel through both dimensions. As for being evil, there isn't much evidence to prove that idea. The only thing I can possibly think of in that case is the emeralds. Why does the traitor want emeralds? To the point to where he would try to sell you next to useless items for outrageous prices, up to 5 emeralds. What could he possibly want to do with the gem? They serve next to no purpose unless he collects them as a peace offering or small sacrifice to a larger, more well-known entity. The only thing I can think of is that emeralds are such rare gems, as you may know. Maybe they have a secret power, whether it's for the better or worse. The question is, but I will likely write another short book on my theory of emeralds.